Welcome. Today I'm going to teach you the 4 patterns that show up in any relationship that causes them to deconstruct so that you can understand how they work, you can work through them, and you can make sure that your relationships are a success. Let's dive in. I would say one of the biggest breakdowns of relationships is usually communication. And if somebody has bad communication in their relationship, it's probably going to turn into a negative outcome later on down the road. And if someone has good communication between the two people in the relationship, it's probably going to turn into a positive, or at least long-term will probably turn into positive relationship. Any relationship, you have to understand, over time is going to develop patterns. And it's important for us as the people who are here wanting to learn and grow ourselves, it's important for us to take ourselves out of the relationship and actually look at it from a third person viewpoint and start to see the patterns that we have. And so what we're going to go through is we're going to go through a book, basically, that Joel Gottman wrote called The Four Horsemen. And it's criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. So the first one is criticism. Criticism is the first of the 4 horsemen and is characterized by attacking a person's character or attacking their personality rather than attacking and talking about their behavior, right? So it's basically attacking who they are versus what they did. Saying things like, well, you always do this or you never do this, and making it into absolutes. Always, never, like those are full-on absolutes, means that there's no room. You're always this way. There's no room to try to improve as someone who's always that way. If you are the type of person where you notice like, oh my God, yeah, I definitely do that in the relationship. I do that with my husband, or I do that with my daughter, right? To address the criticism that may be of the way that you show up, focus on the specific behaviors rather than attacking the person's character. It's not who they are, right? It's just something that they have done. Those are 2 vastly different things. So a more effective approach might be something like, instead of saying like, hey, you never clean up around the house, would be saying like, hey, I would really appreciate it if you could help me clean up around the house. The second one is contempt, and contempt is actually the number 1 reason for divorce. Contempt is the second of the 4 horsemen, and is characterized by the feelings of resentment or disrespect towards a partner and whoever is in that relationship, right? So what exactly does that mean? What it is, it's a communication pattern that can take many forms, including sarcasm, including eye rolling, including name calling, thinking that you are better than them in some sort of way, and only seeing what they're doing wrong. And I get it. Sometimes we're in a relationship with someone and we start seeing all of the things that they're doing wrong, because our brain is always looking for negative. Our brain's always looking for what is wrong. So we sometimes, if we're not paying attention, we'll only see what they're doing wrong. And then our brain will only be searching for what they're doing wrong. And then over time, we start to resent them in a lot of different ways. And so to address contempt, try building a culture in your relationship of appreciation. I find that a lot of relationships that, a lot of people come to me, I'm not a relationship coach in any sort of way, but I coach a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that are in relationships. And a lot of relationships don't have a culture of appreciation. They don't really necessarily appreciate each other a whole lot. They don't make it an intention to actually do so. They usually just find what they're doing wrong versus finding what they're doing right. And so really what you want to do is try to build a culture of appreciation in the relationship. And sometimes that involves you being the first person to actually start to appreciate the other person and saying it out loud. And it can involve, making a conscious effort to express gratitude or show appreciation for the other person, no matter how big or how small that thing is. Number 3 is defensiveness. And defensiveness is the third of the 4 horsemen. And it's characterized by a tendency to defend oneself rather than taking responsibility for one's actions. And so this communication pattern often comes up in response to criticism or contempt. And so a lot of people are really bad at taking criticism. Not everybody, but a lot of people are very bad at taking criticism because they feel attacked versus being like, okay, can I actually learn from this? Can I actually get better in this way? And it can lead to a downward spiral of negative communication patterns. And so, when one partner becomes defensive and another partner's like, hey, can I talk to you about something? Like, you're not being tidy. And then the other person gets defensive and starts yelling at the other person. It can be really difficult for the first partner to express concerns without feeling attacked. And so what happens over time is they've expressed and been attacked, and they've expressed and they've been attacked, and they've expressed and they've been attacked, and they're like, I'm not even going to express anymore. So that's number 3. And number 4 is stonewalling. Stonewalling is the fourth and final of the 4 horsemen, which lead to relationships failing, which means withdrawing from a conversation or an interaction some sort of way rather than actually being a part of it engaging. So this communication pattern often arises when you feel overwhelmed or when you feel flooded with emotions. And it can really be a sign of a partner is feeling emotionally disconnected from the other one. So there's maybe an argument going on and one of the partners is feeling flooded with emotions. They might withdraw from the conversation, stop responding, leave the room, or be like, I'm not talking about this. That would be stonewalling. And this type of behavior can leave the other person feel like they're ignored, they're frustrated, and like their feelings don't matter. And it usually makes them feel like the person who left, even though they were leaving because they were flooded with emotions, it actually makes the other person feel like they don't care. The goal of taking that break is to calm down and to regulate your nervous system, regulate your emotions, so that, and your other partner might also feel flooded, but you can come back and both partners can return to the conversation with a clear mind. The most important thing that you can do really though in a relationship, and this is why it's important to know this, is to work on establishing a really healthy communication pattern. Expressing appreciation for each other, having gratitude for each other, taking responsibility for your own actions. And it's also important to make sure that you don't just throw things under the rug, but to address the issues when they arise, and both of you working on your communication and not feeling attacked and not attacking, and actually work with them rather than letting them fester and grow into something larger.